General, Emperor, Mastermind, welcome to this explainer, where we're going to trace the absolutely explosive ascent and the epic downfall of one of history's most relentless figures, Napoleon Bonaparte.
So who was he really? Well, born into pretty minor, honestly unwealthy Corsican nobility back in 1769, he was this obscure officer who was suddenly thrust into the role of providing for his whole family. Yet this total outsider would somehow transform into a military titan, literally rivaling the absolute greatest minds in human history. We're talking guys like Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar.
And his rise was nothing short of meteoric. In 1793, at the Siege of Toulon, his brilliant artillery tactics completely crushed the royalist forces, which actually earns him the rank of general at just 24 years old. From there, it's just a blitz. He pulls off stunning victories in Italy, executes the daring coup of 18 Brumaire to seize the government in 1799, and by 1804, he literally takes the crown from the Pope's hands to crown himself emperor.
But his ambitions definitely weren't just confined to Europe. Napoleon invaded Egypt, and he had a massive ulterior motive here. He wanted to threaten Britain's wealth by cutting off their route to India. And this sparked a really fascinating diplomatic alliance with Tipu Sultan, the ruler of Mysore. Their shared goal was to completely expel the British from India. But while that grand master plan totally crumbled when Napoleon's fleet was decimated at the Battle of the Nile.
Moving beyond the battlefield, though, Napoleon's weapon of choice was actually the pen. His most enduring footprint is for sure the Napoleonic Code. This wasn't just some French law. It revolutionized global legal frameworks. It established true equality before the law, protected property rights, and permanently buried those outdated feudal privileges.
Basically, he was systematically engineering a modern state. He managed to stabilize a totally chaotic economy by establishing the Bank of France. He replaced aristocratic privilege with a highly efficient, merit-based bureaucracy, meaning he rewarded actual talent over noble bloodlines. And to fuel this massive machine, he completely overhauled the education system to train the next generation of brilliant administrators.
600,000. I want you to just take a second to process that number. In 1812, at the absolute height of his power, Napoleon marched 600,000 soldiers into Russia, and it became a legendary catastrophe. Plagued by freezing weather, terrible disease, and those relentless Russian scorched earth tactics, his mighty army was literally starved and frozen out. Only a ghost of that original force ever returned.
And that disaster, it totally fractured his empire. He was forced into exile on the island of Elba, and honestly, the story really should have ended right there. But, incredibly, he escaped. He seized power for a legendary final 100 days. But his ultimate, crushing defeat finally arrived on the muddy fields of Waterloo, where he was outmaneuvered by the Duke of Wellington and von Blücher. So he's exiled once more. But this time to the desolate, incredibly remote Atlantic rock of St. Helena. The emperor was finally contained. He died there in 1821, at just 51 years old. It was a really quiet, somber end for a mastermind who violently and brilliantly re-engineered the entire future of global governance. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If the French fleet had actually survived and Napoleon really reached India, what would the map of the world look like today? It remains one of history's absolute greatest what-if scenarios. So think about the massive, enduring shadow of his ambitions the next time you look at our modern world.